Welcome to the second part of our ongoing tutorial. Sorry for the audio in the first one. There was some phasing issues with the microphones, which made the sound not as good as it should be. So that's a mistake on our part. We'll correct it. We will be doing the first tutorial again. As I was saying, it's the first time we've ever done something like this, so we're bound to make a few mistakes along the way. Hope we don't do them again. We don't make the same mistakes again. So that will be rectified, and we'll just keep moving on. Just try to get some movement in this whole process. Okay, if you remember from the first tutorial, we introduced some basic concepts and some basic strategies to use when applying equalization to a musical project. And now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about filtering, the high pass filter, which, as I said, is one of the most important things you can do. It should actually be the second or third process that you do in a music project. So let's just go over that again. If you remember, we talked about the analysis and various types of filtering. So let's just go over this again and see how you should actually apply this to an entire project. Okay, so this is your high pass filter, also known as a what is it called? High pass filter or a low cut filter, because it's taking out the lows and it's leaving you with the higher frequencies. This filter is variable. Sometimes it's not on analog equipment, it's at a fixed position. And if you remember, I said you should actually take out anything that isn't necessary to any instrument's frequency range. So let's just see what this applies to. This is the main vocal. This is the vocal for the first verse. And let's just hear it without anything applied.
Jumpstart my broken heart, break the ice and come to play, yeah. Long gone.
As you can see, we've got some movement here in the low frequencies that you don't need.
Wish it away, yeah.
And as I said before, this doesn't seem to be that important, but when you've got a lot of audio tracks, this all starts taking up a lot of space. And space is the most important thing that you can have. You need the space so that the energy the frequencies of the various so that the energy of the various frequencies can occupy its correct position. See, something like football or soccer, it's very important that each element has a position that is important to their function. So, for example, this vocal, it's not that important that it has these low frequencies. So take it out. Okay, so let's just see this again, and let's try and find out where we should filter.
Jumpstart my broken heart, break the ice and come to play, yeah. Long gone those carefree days.
Okay, so hopefully you can see that it's not making a huge difference. It's not that big of a difference. But as I said before, all of these things summed together make a huge difference at the end. So what you would do, for example, is filter out in this section.
Jumpstart my broken heart.
Okay, we're happy with that. Then what you would do is go to the next section. And as you can see, and as you can see, we're applying the same filter more or less in the same position.
Hey! It's okay, whatever you do, it's alright, yeah, it's alright.
There's a difference there because we've got all the effects applied and all the type of the good stuff. But before we get to the good stuff, we have to make sure that the basics are in place. As I said before, the basics now is just simply making sure that we've got the high pass filters or the low cut filter, it's the same thing, applied in the correct place. Okay, this is another section for the middle eight, which is a section of the song. And okay, let's take off all the effects. And one thing that you will see,
Maybe some other time we'll be the first in line.
this is an artistic type of filtering. The only thing necessary for the high pass filter would be this section over here, but we've also got this one applied just for artistic effect.
Maybe some other time we'll be the first in line.
Okay, that's more or less a normal vocal. As you can actually see, this is up rather higher than it needs to be. Okay, this would probably be good in this position.
Maybe some other time we'll be the first in line.
Okay, but it was put higher for artistic effect. Can even be somewhere in this region here.
Maybe some other time.
And we start getting that famous telephone effect or radio effect that sometimes you need just to keep things interesting. Now, I would do this to each and every track in the project. As you can see, this one was probably filtered and processed. So let's just see how this is working.
It's alright, it's alright. It's alright, it's alright.
Okay, as you can see, this is a good recording. Okay, this because I must have had this type of filter being used in the tracking stage, but what probably happened is that I've already processed this, because as you can see, when it plays,
it's alright, it's alright.
there are no frequencies below 200, and that's what we need. As you can see, if we go through the project, this will probably be the same situation.
Hey, it's okay.
Okay, as you can see, not much going on below 200. So these tracks have actually been processed. Let's just see what goes on through all of them. We're actually going to go through everything and just see exactly how everything is, because it's very important that you have you have to be thorough. You have to have a method so that you can go through a project as quickly as possible, because time is important in these type of things.
Ha 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 ha.
Okay, once again, everything seems to be in order.
Ha 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 ha.
Okay, all is good. So we can see that the backing vocals have all been treated and everything seems to be hunky-dory. Okay. This is the drum kit. Let's just see what's happening, for example, on the sound effect. We've got the sound effect. Okay, this is one of those things that you apply just before a chorus or something, just to give it a bit of a oomph. So let's just see what's going on over here. Okay, we can see there is something going on in these low frequencies. So we should actually take that once again. Okay, it's not that much. It's not that much. But as I said, all of these little things start to add up in the end. Okay, let's check out the drums. And now remember, this is another equalizer I like to use, which is from SSL, Solid State Logic. It's a good set of plugins. As you can see, I've got the entire suite. I've got the drum strip, they've got a vocal strip, and they've got an EQ. Now, this is the EQ, and they have as well a compressor, which their bus compressor, which SSL is very famous for. But if you remember, we talked about keeping the low range of frequencies, especially for the kick drum, floor toms, and the bass. So what happens is, for example, let's go to the snare drum. Okay, the snare drum is going to have two origins. We've got the snare on the top and snare on the bottom. We'll be looking into the various miking techniques of a drum. But as you can see, this is top and bottom. Let's just hear it. Okay, the top part is a bit lower, it's a bit thicker, and the bottom part gives you the actual snares, and it gives you the high frequencies. So let's just see what we're actually filtering out here. As you can see, once again, filtering. Okay. Not really that big a deal on this type of drum, because this is, as you can see, it's a programmed drum. It's well programmed, everything's going well. Everything's well recorded, but you can see, for example, in the rooms, what will we do? We're applying just this, we're filtering that out. We don't need it. Okay, it's rather easy because it's a MIDI instrument. And then once again, the bass. Okay, I'm using another type of plugin. But this is essentially the same thing. This is the high pass filter, and as you can see, it's put it at 41 hertz. It's one thing that's important to know, and I didn't show you this before, but this is a plugin that I really love. Doesn't do any sound, but it helps you with a lot of things. This is Music Math. I'm not quite sure who the producer is, but if this is a freeware for Macintosh, and I'm sure you can probably find it for Windows as well. And it comes over here, and you can click on notes, and it will tell you what the frequency is of each note. As we said in the first tutorial, 440 corresponds to the A note, the middle A. Not middle A, but it's an A note. One thing that's important to realize, for example, is that the lowest note on a bass guitar that's put in standard tuning, is E. You know, it's the low E. You've got the E, A, D, G on each string. So what actually happens is that the lowest note that you can give on the bass is actually the E, and the E corresponds to 42 hertz. So anything under that frequency is not necessary. It's actually just it's junk. You can throw it away. As you can see, this bass has been stripped down at exactly that frequency. Okay. Let's see the next. This is a distorted bass, and it's the same principle. Okay, now let's just check out these basses, and you'll see that we try to preserve as much low frequency as you can. Okay, and you'll see a trick here, because this is the direct bass. This is distorted bass. As you can see, the distorted bass doesn't have that much low information, and it shouldn't. The low information comes from the clean bass, and what happens is you try to make the sounds overlap. You try to make them complement each other. So you're actually trying to sculpt them to occupy a certain position. Okay? Then we'll come to the guitars. What's happening with the guitars? Let me just change the output here, because this is going to different outputs. Let's put it all in the same output. Okay, as you can see, the guitars are not that heavy. They aren't that heavy, and they aren't that loud either. But when everything comes together, it becomes it's a whole other thing.
It's alright. Shaking, but never stirred.
Okay, so let's go to the guitars. Once again, these were probably, let's just check them out individually. If you listen to these guitars individually, they were actually recorded with 2 microphones. One which should give us a bit more sizzle, which is the Shure SM57, which is the world's most used microphone, probably. And it gives you a lot of sizzle, it gives you a lot of high end. The next one is a ribbon microphone, which gives you a bit more body. Okay, but as you can see, we're not having to fight too many low frequencies. Okay, everything recorded real easily. If you remember, I said that the bass guitar, the low E for the bass guitar is 42 Hertz, and it's the same thing as well for guitars. Guitars is in another octave, but the guitar, the low E in a guitar corresponds to 84 Hertz. So anything below 84 Hertz or 83, you don't need on an electric guitar. You can just throw it away. So as a rule of thumb for guitars, you can put the filter exactly in this position, just to start off with, because if you start playing, if the bulk of the guitar is in the high register, in the middle of the neck, for example, you could take everything out below 200. But 83 is a brilliant place. Keep in mind that if you're using, for example, a drop D guitar, what happens is if you come here, you'll see that drop D is 74 Hertz. So if you're using a drop D guitar, you would actually try to filter somewhere in this region. If you filter higher up, you'll be losing some of the low end information which you could actually need. Okay, so try and see where each instrument actually lives. That's a Portuguese term. How can I say this in English? Where it's important don't take away the things that you need and get rid of everything you don't, which is a good lesson in life as well. So this guitar will just take out everything lower than 83 Hertz. Okay, the guitar's already been filtered. I can see that already. So there's no big problem there. The filter, as I said before, you could use this EQ from Logic, or I could use this filter from Solid State Logic. Once again, we could just put this at 83 Hertz and it'll be working fine. One or the other. Do not use two. That's another thing altogether. I wouldn't advise you to use two. One or the other. So in this case, seeing as I'm using just a little bit of compression from the plugin, I will switch this off. Okay. As we can see, the guitars, everything seems to be relatively in pace. Now, let's check out these keyboards. Okay, let's just go through this. Okay, this is a typical case of where the filter is doing a hell of a lot of work. And this sometimes happens when things are badly recorded. This is a good recording. This is actually the instrument from Logic. It's a good instrument, but the physical mechanics of the Hammond organ, if you know what a Hammond organ is, it's a keyboard with a speaker next to it, and the speaker is very, very old, and it's got a lot of moving parts. That's why you can hear it actually swirling, because the parts are moving around. And let's just see again these low frequencies, the amount of energy that this is actually eating up. You can see a lot of energy being used here. And you can see that's not really that important to the characteristics of the instrument. Let me just switch it off. Put it on again. We can hear the instrument well, and as soon as you switch this off, we get this low rumble that is a bit annoying. Okay, this is typically what your half filter will be doing. Your high pass filter. So let's go to another synth part, and let's see what's happening. Okay, once again we can see a lot of information here that isn't doing anything. Our notes are starting in the 200 range zone. Anything below, we don't need. Okay, this filter can actually go a bit down, a bit lower. Okay. Very subtle difference, you know. It's not something that you go, wow, amazing. But if you don't get these simple things done the right way, you get so much trouble. You get into such problems in the rest of the project. Let's just check out this other synth. I think this is arpeggio. Same thing. Got a lot of information here, not doing anything. Take it out. Let's listen to these two instruments with and without the filters. you'll see that it makes a huge difference. Makes a huge difference. Okay, this is with the filters, and I'll switch them on and off. You can feel the muddiness leaving. And sometimes you hear the expression a lot in mixing, muddiness. So things are muddy. Okay, so essentially what you want to do is remove all the mud. Okay, so in terms of mixing, this would be probably it's the top 3 things that you do right in the beginning. Okay, hope this helps. Next lesson will be looking at each instrument in terms of EQ and not only in terms of filtering. What we did now was filtering. We're just taking out the very low frequencies, and besides those very low frequencies, we can have frequencies in the mids and in the highs that are a bit offensive, and they can also be treated with this type of corrective EQ. Remember, corrective EQ is taking out what you don't need. After you have the corrective EQ applied, then you can do something called enhancement EQ or character EQ, where you'll change the timbre of the instrument. Right? For example, my voice is a bit too nasally for my liking, so I like to put just a little bit of low mids in, just to beef it up a little bit, so it's not so annoying. I wish I could sing like Dave Gahan of Depeche Mode, for example. You know, these huge baritone voices. I love it. My voice doesn't do the same thing. Well, what can you do? Okay, that's lesson number 2, filters. Okay, spend some time working on filters because it's not that sexy of a topic, but it is very, very important. Okay, ciao for now.